but Marvel had a 10-year bookended thing with Downey that I think will always be considered very, very special. I don't know if they could do that again.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
What's up, sir? How are you?
Yeah, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. I've got two dogs who at any moment are ready to just jump up and just start barking at the mailman. So,
okay.
so if they do, I apologize.
Okay.
I'm going to show you in a second, but I've got your book right there, squeezed between a sandworm on my shelf. I'm going to jump into this, man. I want to start out talking about shooting on location because I feel like you have shot in some of the most effective real locations ever. You've got this series and Dune and No Country and True Grit and Sicario. And then you've had the opposite end of the spectrum with sort of massive blue screens on all the Marvel movies. When you're working all day on a set, what's the difference in how you leave at the end of the day if you're working on a real location versus working in front of a blue screen all day?
I mean, those are two extremes because usually the movies that I choose are pretty extreme in their locations. So if it's Sicario, you got Albuquerque, which is super, super hot, or Only the Brave or Everest, or, you're dealing with snow, you're dealing with a lot of elements, Dune, Abu Dhabi and Jordan and all that stuff. So, and with Marvel, I think it's just as pleasing to me to have to resort so severely to the imagination. I love anything that's extreme. You know what I mean? It's going in to do an episode of a daytime soap that literally sounds like hell to me, even though I respect the people who can go and do that. I have no interest. I have no interest in a Valley of the Dolls experience. So yeah, I like being out in the elements. The first season of Outer Range was one of the toughest things that we've ever been through. I think it was way colder than people had imagined it to be. There was a lot more snow. It was a lot more north than people imagined it, it was. And so it took us a lot longer to film than season 2 when we got a little bit smarter.
Well, we get to be the beneficiaries of it because it's beautifully photographed. It's some of the most beautiful photography I think I've ever seen in television.
Yeah.
So much of this show I feel like revolves around basically just me wondering what in the hell is going on. I have theories. I have a what I think is a very cool theory. But I'm sort of curious. Just at what point do you get the right to ask someone, okay, just tell me the ending? Like, tell me what's going to happen. Like, do you know what the ending is yet?
You mean the end of the show?
Yeah, like the very end.
No, absolutely not. And anybody who tells you they do is full of shit. It's no, I think it's ongoing, and I think it's been ongoing. And I think that I have a paranoid thing as an actor that I do where I go, look, if I'm going to do something like this, I would like to know the beginning and the end of it so we can kind of plan our trajectory, our emotional trajectory. And it wasn't in this, and I'm thankfully so, because Charles Murray and I think had a really good time with the writers at hand, had a really good time, just kind of things would dictate themselves. Like episode 4, you get to episode 3 or 4 and you go, wait a second, we thought we were going that way, but I just feel like it's this way. Why don't we do this? And the fact that we're dealing with a whole, and the fact that we're dealing with timelines now, and the fact that we're dealing with people's reactions, I don't know. There was a lot more possibility that was revealed with this group of people this year than I think ever. So I think I'm more intrigued by the series this year than I was when I said yes in the beginning.
It keeps getting better, which says a lot. You starred in, I feel like, different variations of the Western genre. Obviously, I feel like this is in a way a variation of, obviously a big variation of a Western genre. You've got No Country and True Grit, and they're still around. That's still a popular genre, despite sort of that burst in popularity in the 50s, 60s, and then they died out a little bit. There have been a lot of conversations right now that the superhero movie is the new Western, and that they're in that sort of period where their popularity bubble is about to burst. I'd love to get your thoughts on that as someone who has had sort of a foot in both camps of the genres.
It's an undeniable thing, and Marvel will go on to make great movies, and I think this new Deadpool is going to be fantastic. But Marvel had a 10-year bookended thing with Downey that I think will always be considered very, very special. I don't know if they could do that again. So I don't know if that's the end of that. And then you have Dune that comes, with Denis, I think he's doing it very responsibly, and it's very, it's more philosophical, it's more emotional, it's more, it's not as campy per se. So I think he's creating a new era of film that we'll see where that goes. I think with Westerns, there were no Westerns when No Country came around, and then they did No Country because it's the Coens, and they go, fine, let's just let them do it. And then we'll see how it does, and won't make money, and maybe we'll get money in, DVD sales or something. And then that started a whole new thing. And then it went away. And then Taylor Sheridan's show, Yellowstone, came around, and then that started a whole new thing. I mean, who saw that coming? Nobody. So if we were able to piggyback on that just because there was interest, but do a totally different thing, not do more of a soap opera, but bring in sci-fi elements that just makes for more colorful behavior, so be it.
I love that, man. I love that. I'd love to show you something if you don't mind, because you mentioned Dune. So I'd kind of like to just sort of show you that you are an integral part in my home, that I have.
You have a very clean home.
Your book squeezed between the
that.
sandworm.
Oh, dude, that's fantastic. I'm so happy. Look at the sandworm.
It's really good, dude. And it's like super, super heavy.
Wait, are those Emmys?
They are Emmys.
Look at you.
Trust me, they felt pity on me. But
we got Emmys next to our Dune collection.
Right next to it. I'd love to ask you, just because I'm a nerd, and I love sort of having stuff like that in my apartment. What do you have in your home that you're most proud of, maybe from a past film?
Nothing. No,
not even a photo of us.
I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff, actually, and I was just given the balisette by Denis and Tanya, and I was very happy to do that. There's a lot of times when you get to the end of a film and you're like, "Nah, I'm good," and then you regret it later on. I have a lot of memorabilia. What I don't have is the glove, which I wish I had, because I wore that every scene and every day. And I didn't need to, but I wanted to. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was an affectation or not, but I did. And there's other stuff that I have, but I don't, I'm not a collector in that way. But I think as I get older, I get a little more sentimental about it. And but I still have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff.
That's cool. You earned that glove, man. I'm sure you could still call those guys. I'm sure they'd give it to you.
They should send it to me.
They should. I'll send this to them.
Good.
And they should watch my Emmy-winning show, and then.
Good on you.
It's really cool for me to be able to talk to you right now specifically, because I'm talking to you from Chicago, and you're going to be at C2E2 this weekend as the guest of honor. And I just love that, despite how big you are, that you're still willing to hang out with fans, talk to fans, take pictures, sign autographs. I'm just sort of curious if you have, over your career, a favorite fan encounter that means the most to you.
That means, you know what, man? I mean, this is one of those. I'll tell you two quick stories, and they're opposite stories. One is not about me. So I went to Comic-Con in San Diego, and I did a panel for Jonah Hex, and I was with Megan Fox, and I was with Michael Fassbender and Jimmy Hayward. And we made it funny, and we made it fun, and people were engaged, and it was probably 6,000 or 7,000 people. And then I went off, and I hadn't seen him in a while, and it was for Iron Man 2. So off in the wings, I saw Downey, and I'd known him for a long time. And so we started talking, "Oh, how are you doing?" Hug and all that. And then he said, "Watch this." And it wasn't arrogance. It was more kind of like, "Can you believe this?" And he walked on stage and he turned to the audience. I've never seen command like this in my life. And he lifted up his hands slowly, and people went absolutely berserk. So that said, which has nothing to do with me other than I was there. That said, I got off the plane at one point, and there's a movie that I'm very proud of that we did called Only the Brave, which was about the Parnell fire and the 19 lost during that fire. And not a lot of people saw the movie when it was out in the theater, but it streamed in a big way.
It's a masterpiece.
I got off the plane, and there was a big, strapping, just yoked tattooed fireman with tears streaming down his cheeks. And he walked up to me and he says, I know this must seem weird. I don't mean to, but I just want to thank you so much for making that movie. It meant the world to us. And he gave me a big hug, and that was very emotional for me. So it's things like that that remind me that without fans and without people actually emotionally kind of wrapped up in the stories that we tell, we're just masturbating.
Well, dude, they're pulling me out here. I want to say, first of all, just thank you for being always so kind to me, man. Thank you for always giving me time, giving me extra time. You know how much I appreciate and value you, and you'll always be a part of my house. And if you want to hang out in Chicago, let me know.
All right, man. I'll be
All right.
there. If you want to come and say hello, I'll be there.
I'll be there. All right, man. We'll see you, buddy.
Bye.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.